Matt, what are you anticipating? We typically see a little bit of a bull run at the beginning of the year. Will we see more records this year?
Well, it looks like we want to make another run at that 20,000 level on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it's going to be interesting this year because January usually is a good month, but the last 3 years it hasn't been, and this year it's going to be very interesting because if we get past 20,000 and the market really gets to run, I mean it's going to feed on itself. I mean we have number one, you have institutional investors. I mean we always talk about the performance fear for them at the end of the year, but the performance fear is also important at the beginning of the year because if the market starts to move, they have to go with it, even if they don't really like the market, because they don't want to fall behind very early in the year and play the rest of the year doing catch-up. And then, of course, you have the individual investor who's got maybe a year-end bonus or 401k decisions to make, and they start moving into the market. And if it moves higher, they kind of feeds on itself because they keep chasing it. However, we have kind of an odd thing that right now is that we have two two markets that have people all on one side of the boat. One is the bond market where everybody is negative, and one is the dollar where everybody is positive, and they're positioned that way too, as we see in the futures market. So if we get a bit of a change there, that could throw a lot of crowded investments, whether it be short the bond market or long the financials, things like that, could throw them into a tizzy, which could create a lot more volatility than we've been seeing in the last few months.
Now, what's your sense of timing here? At the end of last year, we saw so much enthusiasm about the prospects for policy changes in Washington, D.C. How much time are investors prepared to give the president-elect and Congress to actually make good on those promises, follow through on those promises?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's weird. Some of the things that have been happening here with Donald Trump and his tweeting actually makes it a little precarious. I mean, one of the things is that every single thing he seems to do has people see. He says jump, and everybody says how high. In Washington, that's never really happened before. Usually they say jump. What's in it for me? And but that's only going to last so long. So I guess usually when you come into you get a nice grace period, but that's usually starts in inauguration. This one has started right at Election Day, and he's been through his tweeting has been much more public with his moves. So that grace period might be a little bit shorter than we've seen in the past. So we've heard some people say buy the election, sell the inauguration. That might come to fruition. We'll see what happens.
Right. I mean, what is priced in, Matt? How much of fiscal stimulus and tax cuts and corporate tax cuts? How much of all that is already priced in?
Well, I think a lot of it has, and to be honest with you, I think one of the things we run into is that some of the one of the key things that we have going forward is we're making this transition from a central bank driven market and economy to hopefully a fundamental and growth driven economy. The problem is there can be that transition period can have some ups and downs in it and create volatility. And the thing is right now is we have a situation where valuations are stretched. And I think a lot of that central bank liquidity has taken valuations higher than they should be. So it's going to take some time before we get some of these things. I mean, everybody seems to think that all this stuff that Trump is talking about is going to get passed the way he wants it to, passed immediately, and implemented very quickly. The chances of that are very low. So, we've heard a lot of people talk about how we've stolen, taken from 2017 in 2016. I think they're right. And I think, we're sitting at a time where people want to sit back a little bit and take a better look and see a little bit. Do what they do in Missouri, a little bit of a show me what's going on rather than just belief and based on hope.